You are listening to Shameless Stories, and I'm Nicola Humber, founder of the Unbound Press, soul-led publishing company for magical women writing world-changing books. And we are delighted to be the sponsor of this podcast. So enjoy, magical one.
Welcome to another Shameless Stories. I'm your host, Sarah Lloyd, and this podcast is all about uncovering shame and how we can live more shamelessly. And I always invite amazing guests on, people that are living a shameless life. And I'm especially excited to introduce to you today Dr Lil Legard. Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yeah, that is correct.
Oh, yay! You're based in Norway, and you are a doctor of consciousness. And I love the fact that you shared with me just before we came on that you're here to heal generational trauma and help women step into leadership. Like, I'm all here for that. So I can't wait to get into this conversation. I love the fact as well you told me you're a cat lady. Amazing. And I can't wait to dive in. So I mean, the first question I often ask people is like, what led you to the point that you're sitting here in this podcast with me today? You're a doctor of consciousness. What led you to this point? What story can you share with me?
Yeah, wow. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you about this. Like I said, I'm super passionate about it, and I think it's such an important knowledge for people to have, how to come into their empowered leadership. But how I came to become a doctor of consciousness, I think the really short answer is that I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. So at the age of 11, I just had an argument with my mother, and I was, totally in the void somewhere, gone. And I had this thought coming through saying, you have to become conscious to have a good life. And that was, I was 11 years old and couldn't quite make any sense of that, and I still remember it very clearly, but, it took years before it even started to compute what it was. So when I was 33, I came across Kundalini Yoga. And that is the yoga of consciousness. So that's when my really deep transformation started on myself. Mm-hmm. And then later I wanted to do more. I wanted to share with the world. I wanted to, my transformations. I want other people to have the same opportunities, as I think that's for everyone who has had great transformations. They just want everyone else to have the same transformations. And of course, not everyone is accessible for that, and that's fine, but I was in that newly Christian kind of thing, very naive and optimistic, and thought I was gonna, so it just didn't happen. Not everyone was interested in Kundalini Yoga. So I wanted to, I need to do something else. I need to further this, and that's when I came across Dr. Aaron and started my journey to become a spiritual psychology coach. And she's a doctor of divinity, and I thought, that's so cool. I want to be a doctor of divinity as well. It's just a deepening of the journey. It's such a manifestation of the deepening of a consciousness journey. And I never ended up doing a conscious of divinity, but I ended up doing a doctor of consciousness. So it's a full circle in a way, the embodiment. For me, the doctor of consciousness is just the embodiment of my own transformations from growing up in a dysfunctional family. And to talk about, you're talking about shameless. So dysfunctional families, that the shame is kind of the glue, that keep you together.
Yeah. So when you say dysfunctional, what, just to give us a flavor, what sort of things were?
Well, my mother was 16 when she had me. She was and she grew to become an alcoholic. I think it was hard for her there's a lot of shame. I was born in the 70s. So there's a lot of shame in being a single woman, carrying, giving birth to a child. So I think just the shame made her go into that alcoholism. And she didn't have any capacity the shame was too deep for her to even seek help. So she was imprisoned in her own pain.
Yeah, that's
and self-medicating. And my father, he's gone. He was never there. So that's how, that's that dysfunction.
Yeah.
In a
I
short.
guess with your mum being so young as well, like that's like you're saying, you're talking about healing generational trauma. It's, we often start with our own journeys, don't we, before we start helping other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So my experience is that the transformation in other people is not necessarily if the problems that I see in them, do you know what I mean? Like, the transformation is often just sharing the space and being in, you just embodying your own transformations. And many times you don't even need to say any words. It doesn't have to be an exchange of, a session or anything. So I think that is a really important part of it. When you are inspired to, well, for me, being inspired to help other people to transform and transmute. So the more I can embody it, the easier it is for others to access it in themselves.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so your work, is it a combination of the Kundalini kind of yoga and other aspects or other modalities that you're using when you're working with people? What does that look like?
Yeah, Kundalini Yoga is a really important part of it. It's working on the unconscious in a very deep way, where for me it was like a safe place. I didn't have the words, so Kundalini Yoga would help me to put words into what I'm experiencing and what I wanted to create. And so I use the techniques from Kundalini Yoga to strengthen the nervous system, to have these really, really deep subconscious processes happening. And then I've developed a method called lineage liberation method, which is a 4-part method where you come into a realization of your choices. You see your choice, like when you see what you have created, you can know what you want to create. And then the shift, the identity shift. I mean, every spiritual journey is about identity shift. So then the shift is the next, how you create your story from the truth of who you are instead of the limitations of who you are.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. And then, living it.
Sorry, I'm fanning myself. having energy surges as I'm talking to you. There must be some shifts occurring.
I love that.
But I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into kind of, so obviously this podcast is about shame and living shamelessly. What's your relationship with shame? Do you feel like you're now living a shameless life, or is there more work to be done? I mean, it'd be great to understand a bit more about what how it's shown up in your life. And
shame is such a loaded word, isn't it? It's
really
got so many concepts in it. And like I remember, let me start in this experience that I had. There were some women talking about shame, and they all talked about how it was created in this life. Like they were born we're born shameless. But
Yeah.
in the tradition that I'm teaching, you're not born shameless, because your soul is carrying all the memories from your past lives. So shame is, in my view though, is a way for women to hold women down. So it's kind of a tool to suppress.
Yeah.
And if we look back, it's been like, it's not just the past 50 years we've experienced suppression, but it's like the last 2,000, 3,000 years that we've experienced it. So I believe that the shame is ingrained in our DNA. It doesn't mean it's fixed,
Yeah.
but it means that you need to do deep consciousness work to realize it. And there's so many ways of doing that. So in my life, it showed up in the relationship with my mother. My mother birthed me when she was just 16, and in a tiny little village in the mountains. And I can see back now and see how awful it must have been for her, because she was an unworthy woman. She wasn't married. She was unmarried, and I was a bastard child. I was not real. In a way, that's what they thought back in the days. If you weren't born within the wedlocks, you were some way you were not real. So that was, I think, then given to me, her way of living the shame. And I've seen it in my relationship with men, especially, and in my relationship with money, like the shame of wanting more money, and the shame of talking about money, and especially money and spirituality. So money has really been the portal for me to transform that shame.
Right.
So it's helped me to come into the power, my empowered self. But I don't think I'll ever get done. I think that I'll come to a stage where I manage it better and better, where I can disclose it or see it, and then make choices from there. But I think all the emotions, because shame is not just bad, shame is also a guidance. It can show you whether you've stepped on someone's toes, or if you need to make amends. That can be a part of shame as well. But of course, the handicapping or the debilitating part of shame is something that is continuously or releasing its grip more and more.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I had never thought. It's funny. You're the first person to come on the podcast and talk about the positives of shame, because I don't think anyone else has. Maybe one other, and that's quite. There's about 50 episodes I've recorded. So 50 conversations, and it's interesting you say that, because we see it as a low vibrational emotion, and like the next emotion next to that is death, kind of thing. And it can really do a number on you. But when you mentioned like it being a guidance system, it's so true, isn't it? It's like if you're doing something that's upsetting somebody and they shame you, then you're not likely to do it again. Well, unless
yeah, most likely not.
well, hopefully wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, but it's so important, isn't it, to understand that emotions, like when you talk about low vibration emotions, we are kind of thinking black and white. We don't want anger, we don't want shame, we don't want anything that is categorized as awful feelings. Yeah. We just want joy and love, and we just want to be happy-go-lucky all the time. But you can't do that. We have emotions for a reason. It's our higher self talking to us, and many other aspects of it's like multidimensional. So I think to embrace and hold all the emotions is such a big part of the transformation. I mean,
Yeah, I guess the the one thing that I've learned over the years is I used to hold on to emotion. I used to hold on to the shame and beat myself with the stick. And I guess moving on my own spiritual path, it taught me to release those. I mean, I found myself feel it. I know, I see it coming now, and I can either release it, notice it. But being conscious, isn't it? It's about being more conscious about what you're consuming, who you're surrounded by, who's affecting you, what stories you're choosing to believe, what stories you're trying to create, and and everything in between. It's no wonder you're living with a cat. It's like, it's a lot.
Yeah, you're right. You're quite right. But would you say that your experience of shame has been the portal to your awakening, or a greater understanding?
It is probably a big part of my awakening. I think
Right.
my awakening story, it was around having my daughters, but also it was to do with my job and the worthiness piece. I think there's a piece around being worthy, and when you're made redundant, or when when children just won't calm down, there's an element of there was shame around not being a good enough mum, or not being able to get it right, or and actually one thing that I did learn around my own spiritual awakening was, at the end of the day, no one's going to get it right. The lessons are here to be, the things that are happening to us are lessons that we need to learn from or change. And these things do. All I remember is people telling me things will pass. And it's like, when? I'm ready for it to pass now. I'm done.
Yeah.
But knowing that about myself, and kind of having that wider of awareness, and knowing that everything will be okay, it generally is.
Yeah.
However that looks. It's an interesting one, you saying that about my own awakening, because there's so many different facets to that. I think with so many, it's so hard to pinpoint it, isn't it? And I think
I think I agree. And I think what I find interesting about shame is how it's been used to control and to hold down, and to shame on you for doing that, shame on you for saying that, shame on you for whatever. And I grew up with that. If I did something wrong, or was perceived as wrong from the adults, I would say, oh, shame on you for saying something like that, shame on you for doing that. Or so it's a way, I think it's a very unintelligent way of controlling people, or suppressing people and systems. And so I think it's not just individual, it's collective, but it's also systematic. It's ingrained in our infrastructure, in how the government and everywhere. So it's kind of a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a whack-a-mole, isn't it? It's like, get back in your box. Don't either you stepped out of it, or you misbehaved, or you're not complying to what we think you should be. That it is in that respect, it is quite a powerful emotion to. I mean, you just have to look at a few years back with the pandemic and things. People were shamed for not complying or not doing as they were told, and that was probably the biggest act of coercion globally ever. So
so shame is kind of just disguising or hiding fear. It's an expression of fear, so it's a survival mechanism,
which is
ultimately
why we want to live shamelessly, really.
Yeah.
And it is about living without fear. It is about, like, going back to the point that you shared with me around the generational trauma and helping women stepping into leadership. It's about not leaning into the fear anymore. It's not being afraid. It's, you know, and actually living the truth of who you really are. And
Exactly.
I think for so many of us of a certain age, we've been told who we should be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you dare to sort of step out of that, that's when the shame comes in to kind of put you back on track. Yeah.
So living shameless then is coming into the truth of who you are and living your truth. So and then living your subjective truth, and then accepting that there is as many truths as there are individuals in this world.
Yeah.
Because I think also the fact that you want something for someone else that they don't want for themselves is also creating a lot of this shame. But just, you know, opening up and being curious about what's my truth. What do I want to create in this world? I mean, our words are so powerful, and they are backed up by our emotions. So if we say something and then underneath there is this feeling of shame, it's a contradiction. We create that inner conflict instead of understanding that the truth is that, you know, I'm shameless, you know, I'm bold, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, and that is the truth. I'm living my unique self. I'm expressing my unique self, and there's no one that can, you know, say that that's wrong or right. It's my expression.
Yeah. I guess that's another thing. It's like the work that I do in PR, it was always around the external validation piece. And
Right.
like, you know, I guess that's where this has all come from, because people would come to me to share their stories in the media, but there would always be this element of, oh, do I want to share that story? Is that the right, you know, what are people going to think about me? And there is this whole thing around, yeah, like if I dare to step out and share exactly what I think, how is that going to be received?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I always teach my clients is what people take away from your story is none of your business, effectively. Like if it's your truth and it happened to you, then, you know, no one can shift that. No one can change that for you, because that happened to you and that's your version of events. But yeah, like allowing, I think for many years I allowed other people's opinions, and I worried about what people thought of me. So I get it. I like
Right.
I've
So
been
there's
unraveling this for years.
yeah. So there's a fear of being shamed if I show who I am. I've had the experience that I've been shamed for being true to myself, so I can't be myself because the world won't like me, and my survival depends on the world liking me. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Oh,
internalized shame. So it's like an inner authority that does have there's no, I mean, there's no logical sense why that inner authority should be there, you know, in that capacity. Yeah.
I just hope that for future generations, the work that we're doing in our generation, that they can live a more shameless life. I mean, the fact that people are more accepting of people being whatever they want to be,
Yeah.
without judgment. Yeah, don't know how. There's still probably a long way to go, but even so, it's a
I
different
don't know.
shame now.
It's true, but I think what you like when you're talking now, I'm thinking that, well, it's each and every woman, each and every man has a responsibility to transform and transmute that themselves. Like there's no one else that can come into your space, Sarah, and say your shame is gone. You have to do it yourself, and that
Of
is the
course.
thing. And that's where what I really love about transforming generational trauma, because if you look at trauma, a lot of people misunderstand trauma and saying, I didn't have any trauma in my life. I've never had any trauma in my life, but everyone has had trauma in one capacity or the other. Gabor Mate talks about trauma with a big T and a small t. And so if we are to define trauma, it's like when you are in an intense emotional situation And the way you find release is to create a meaning around it. When you create that meaning, that story, that's immediate release. And so generational trauma is the story, but it's not, you haven't lived the event, you've just inherited the story.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of hard to catch what it is or what the belief systems that have created it. But that's where we have our responsibility, and that's where we can quantum shift our inner reality, our inner projection, is when we start to transform and transmute that. Take responsibility in one way or the other, and declare that the world is shameless already. The world, the women of the world is leading.
I love that. Is there any other words of wisdom that you can leave with us? Because, well, I feel like you've left a lot, but what would you like to share about your work?
Well, I just, I'm super passionate about this. I'm taking to the stage, just sharing, sharing the from stages, and I work one-on-one with people. So if anyone is inspired or feel that they resonate with what I'm saying, I mean, just get in touch, I suppose. But yeah, I just feel that either way, it's so important to just be true to who you are and seek that truth, reveal the truth of who you are constantly, not believe others' truth about yourself. I think that's the most important thing, to release shame.
I love that. That's so important as well, isn't it? Because, if you release the projection of, if I guess, I would have had friends in my 20s who would probably still remember that version of me, and I'm not that person anymore. And I think that's the thing that I keep coming back to is we have the power to change every single day. We have a blank sheet of paper every time we wake up. We can make a choice every day.
Yeah. Yes, and your choice has an impact on the entire world.
Powerful.
Yes.
So you're based in Norway. Do you have clients all over the world, or?
Yep, I do. I have clients all over the world. So I do all my work. I do it on Zoom or online.
Yeah. Amazing. So it's not So you're not limited. And if you do want to get in touch with Dr. Lil, you will have all the details in the show notes. I'm just blown away by the conversation. I always am when I have these calls. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your wisdom with me and the listeners. Thank you again for coming on to Shameless Stories.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. An honor to be here and speak to you and see you.
And you can listen to another episode of, sorry guys, I've totally forgotten you're listening. You can listen to another episode of Shameless Stories. We have some amazing guests coming up. Please do keep listening, liking and sharing. Thanks again. And I'll be back next week.